UFC Evloev versus Murphy just took place. This card was mediocre. It wasn't good. It just wasn't. The UFC is going down in quality, and it could be way better, and they also allow plenty of fighters in the UFC that aren't even UFC level. Anyway, we'll get to more of that later. Let's break down this card. Evloev versus Murphy. I rewatched rounds 1, 2, and 3, and I think Evloev won round 3, meaning he also won rounds 4 and 5, but there's point deduction. And round 1, I think and 2, I think Murphy won, but round 1 was extremely close. And when I watched it live, I originally thought Evloev won the round based off damage. And honestly, you can argue that Evloev did win the round. It's not hard of an argument. You can easily argue Evloev won round 1, but I think Murphy won it off the output, and I think there were a lot of shots that people thought rocked Murphy or hurt Murphy, but literally got blocked or landed on the guard. Literally just landed on the guard, didn't land clean. A lot of those overhands. Just because he threw them hard doesn't mean he landed them hard. I think because of the overhands and the body shots, you can argue Evloev round 1, it was an extremely close round. So it's not like he robbed him of a draw, because let's be real, if there wasn't that BS point deduction, Evloev would have won. The point deduction's stupid, so it's like Evloev won the fight. He won rounds 3, 4, and 5. But Mark Goddard's stupid. And, because it was 2 accidental nut shots, you don't deduct a point off of that, especially with one of them was so close to being on the body, but it just happened to be on the nuts. Taking a point from that is stupid. Mark Goddard, I don't know what you're doing. Mark Goddard makes a lot of shit decisions as a ref, so whatever. And they ended up giving it to Evloev. But the thing is, Movsat Evloev could have had an easy 50-45 decision and could have potentially even finished him. We saw that in round 5 and in round 4 with how he was easily out grappling Lerone Murphy. But for some dumb reason, this guy Movsat Evloev decides to just strike with him for the first couple of rounds, and then doesn't start shooting takedowns till late round 3. Mid-late round 3. He just got a real late start for some reason. I don't know why he was trying to strike so much with Lerone Murphy. It was a really, really dumb thing for him to do. I don't know why he did it. Yeah, and it was a really close fight. I think the first 3 rounds were all close, and Evloev dominated round 5, and round 4 was dominant as well. And that could have been how the whole fight went. And with how Murphy was getting Ming just freaking pieced up on the ground, I think Evloev could have even got a TKO if he started doing that shit early. But he didn't. He just wasn't in the right position to grapple. He was working his way into it. No, because Movsat Evloev, you know what he does? He strikes for the sake of grappling. And I thought there were multiple times in round 1 when I was like, oh, here the takedown comes, because he was using his setups that he normally does. But for some reason, he just refused to shoot takedowns off of his normal takedown setups. And same around 2. And this dude just refused to grapple. He refused to grapple. He refused to take advantage of being able to easily out-grapple Lerone Murphy, which he eventually did later. But he could have dominated the whole fight. But for some reason, this guy just loves split decisions or majority decisions. He loves just making it close and making it controversial. And he's getting decision-aided by Alexander Volkanovski because he has a bad fight IQ. Even though he has incredible grappling, he just refused to use it for the first couple rounds for some reason. And even in round 3, it's like, he would go in the clinch, or he would grapple, and it's like, rather than chain grappling like he normally does, and continuously grappling and trying to go for takedown, shot, reshot. Well, he didn't do that. It's like, Lerone Murphy's up now, so I'll just separate, just because. I don't know why he was doing that, even though he could have held him there. He could have held him there and then took him down again. And Movsat, after the fight, you know what he said? He said he wanted to prove that he was a better striker. So that's the reason. He fumbled what could have been a 50-45 grappling domination, which he clearly could have done. All off of what we saw in the last few rounds, and also off of what we saw with Murphy, his fight with Ige and Emmett. We saw his defensive grappling there. I think it's just such a shit game plan. Evloev he literally admitted that he wanted to test out his striking and see if he was a better striker. Right, so that's his admission there as to, so it's not, he just wasn't able to do it. Nope, he said it himself. He wanted to prove he was a better striker. If he didn't, and he fought like how he normally fought, then he would have just dominated him for 5 rounds straight and would have potentially ground and pound TKO'd him. Shit game plan from Movsat Evloev, and neither of these guys looked elite. I'm sorry. And on the feet, like, Evloev's striking is solid. He's a ranked fighter. He's a top 5. No shit, it's solid. It's solid. Murphy's is solid as well. Since Evloev is striking so much, Murphy, up the output. Up the output, buddy. Use the angles more. Use your reach more. Use the teeps more. Keep him at range more. Use more kicks. But he wasn't. He wasn't. He wasn't. He was being way too low output. He was being way too low output. And this fight was mostly shit until, it was just, man, the fight was fine. It wasn't shit. The fight was kind of decent. You can say it's good because of, when Movsat started to grapple, it was actually entertaining. Especially when he was, just freaking tossing him around in round 4 and 5, right? What if he started doing that in round 1, which he very much could have? With the way he was talking in the post-fight speech, he knew he could have. He just wanted to prove he was a better striker, which he didn't. Because he's not the better striker. No, Murphy's a better striker. Neither of these guys looked elite. I'm sorry, they just didn't look elite, right? I know I'm very strict with, what I consider to be elite. But, bad fight IQ mistake like that from Evloev and, Murphy not capitalizing on it. Yeah, neither of them made elite decisions. Neither of them had elite fight IQ. None of them on the feet. Even when they're on the feet, it's not like, oh, wow. Even though it's boring, this is pretty high-level stuff. Look at what they're doing here. No. They look like, top 15, top 10 fighters on the feet. I was surprised that Murphy wasn't capitalizing more on the feet. And I like the way the striking went, it makes sense, kind of how I predicted it going. But, I don't know, just, I feel like Murphy, could have done more on the feet. Evloev could have started grappling way earlier. And Murphy didn't take advantage of Evloev not grappling way earlier. I can't say good win from Movsat because I don't think he won. I think it's a draw. Because I think Murphy just did win rounds 1 and 2. I'm sorry, he did. 48-46 is stupid. He didn't win. It should have been a draw. So I thought it was going to be. Although I think the point deduction was stupid and Evloev won anyways. So you could say that as well. So it should have been 48-47, but because of point deduction, 47-47. Because of this shitty point deduction. This is good. It's good. Good stuff. Luke Riley kind of got fraud checked. He's not that great. Just not. The fact that this is a main event over ranked MVPs, weird. Card placement. The fight placement on this card sucked. Not surprising. It's a UFC card. There's bad fight placements on cards. Michael Aswell looked way better than I thought he would. Well, he looked better than I thought he would. And it was a good, hard-fought decision win for Luke Riley that he clearly won. I believe I had him winning all 3 rounds. Or maybe 29-28. I don't remember. But, yeah, I'm sorry, my memory's shit. Even my short-term memory. But I do remember that it was a fun fight. And that, it was mostly... it was mostly striking battle, and Evloev was, Aswell was trying to force the clinch, And he was landing high output and stuff, but Luke Riley was stealing rounds of damage later in the rounds and landing a lot of straight. On round 3, he was constantly pinging Aswell's chin around with left hooks and stuff, and Aswell's got a crazy chin. He was getting cracked quite a bit by Luke Riley, especially late. Luke Riley looked slick on the feet. His boxing looked real good. He was getting hit a lot. Defense wasn't great, but he did show some good head movement in moments. But his guard isn't great. That was a good fight. Not quite a main event worthy, and they're decent fighters. Luke Riley's still undefeated. It's good for him. Michael Venom Page or Sam Patterson. Speaking of fighters having dumbass game plans, Sam Patterson, you are a submission specialist. Most of your wins, you have 14 wins, right? 14, 15, whatever, same shit. 7 of your wins are by submission. You're a high-level grappler, and for some reason you weren't shooting takedowns on Michael Venom Page. He shot, there was, a half takedown where, he raised his leg up and, was about to kick the leg out, but then kind of bailed on it. He kind of half-assed a trip and then just bailed on it for some reason. Even if he kept half-assing it, he still probably would have got it. But no, he doesn't try and take down the pure striker, Michael Venom Page. Michael Venom Page, who's clearly, just one of the better strikers in the sport ever, but he's incredibly boring, and it's frustrating to watch, and it's just boring as shit, and it was just frustrating to watch. Sam Patterson won round 1. There was a judge that scored Michael Venom Page the round. I don't know what they were watching. Patterson just clearly outlanded him in round 1. They also made us some BS strike numbers for round 1 because they didn't actually watch the round, or I don't know. The Page just went 3 for 10 for strikes on round 1. Just facts. Patterson still lost, so he clearly lost rounds 2 and 3, especially round 3. Yeah. Patterson lost because he was stupid and he got outstruck by Michael Venom Page. Landed some overhands, some knees, some straights. Patterson didn't really grapple outside of using the clinch a little bit. So, really stupid. Austin Lane got flattened again. Who would have thunk it? Iwo Baranuski got a knockout in 28 seconds. Very nice the way he slipped his head out through the overhand, and then slipped his head out to the other side and threw the hook, and then slipped out, and then threw the 2. And then the ground and pound shots. It was really slick work. Iwo is a technical marauder. That's an incredibly dangerous style. Other technical marauders include Ilya and Kevin Vallejos. The fact that he has a technical marauding style is incredibly impressive. But will he have a technical marauding style or just a pure marauding style once he starts fighting higher level fighters? He might just be a marauder that is technical, not a full-on technical marauder, because technical marauder also implies that you're high level, and unlike most marauders, you have good defense, which he doesn't. So he is a marauder, so I take back the technical marauder, but he still had a great KO over Austin Lane. He already KO'd Ibo Aslan, who's better than Austin Lane, and the UFC knows that, yet they fed Austin Lane to Iwo Baranuski, Austin Lane coming down a weight class from heavyweight, because they wanted to feed Iwo. They just wanted to give him an easy KO win rather than actually give him an intriguing matchup. They don't want to give him a good matchup at all. They just wanted to see him chin someone that was worse than the guy he beat in his last fight. So cool. Shit matchmaking as per usual from the UFC in that. Roman Dolidze versus Christian Leroy Duncan was shit. COD, what was it, 30-27? It was shit. Roman was rolling around like a roly-poly. Roman Dolidze turned into a roly-poly, was rolling around the octagon, and I'm not even joking, by the way. Duncan was clearly outstriking him with straights and low kicks and, the occasional, spinning back kick or whatever, or a hook kick or a side kick. This is kind of how the fight went. Every round was pretty similar. And, Duncan anytime he would get to a point where he'd land hard shots, Roman would start to kind of, run away a little, literally start to turn his back and run away and freaking shell up. And then you know what he would do when Leroy Duncan would swarm him like that? He would collapse. He would just forcefully collapse himself on the canvas into turtle position, flop to his back, and then stand up. Right? He was fighting like a roly-poly. He was avoiding combat at all costs, trying to clinch Christian Leroy Duncan as well. And, Was just, I don't know why Leroy Duncan wasn't sprawling on him and throwing ground and pound. Leroy Duncan's grappling IQ and finishing grappling IQ obviously isn't that great if he wasn't taking those opportunities that Roman was laying out for him. And this guy, Roman, was also just, rolling around like a roly-poly and flopping over to his back to avoid getting hit more by Leroy Duncan. Smart game plan from Roman. It was like the only way he was going to have a chance at winning, I guess. I don't know, by saying, oh, hey, come in my guard, and then occasionally clinch him. I don't know. I don't even know if he was trying to win. But I guess that's his only path to not getting chinned or getting brutally beat, and I guess he just didn't want to get brutally beat. But, I don't know, he fought like a bitch. But, I guess it was smart since he didn't want to get KO'd. Smart bitch fighting. Curtis Campbell versus Danny Silva. Wow. Danny Silva with the knockout. That was nice. This is good. This is good stuff. Danny Silva got a nice knockout win. Curtis Campbell won round one, but then, he's using the grappling well and decent in the striking. But Danny Silva, well, yeah, he swarmed him. He completely swarmed Curtis Campbell and dropped him bad with hooks. Not in the clinch, but kind of in clinch range. And then Curtis popped up, and then he dropped him down again. And the ref stopped it as Curtis Campbell tried to get up, so I think it was an early stoppage. No one else is complaining about that. Maybe that's just because there's just so much to complain, about the UFC nowadays. It's just, you overlook the occasional early stoppage. Even though back when the UFC was good, there would be a major uproar about stuff like this, and then the UFC would make sure shit like this doesn't happen, but now the UFC is able to get away with it more. Anyways, Mason Jones versus Axel Sola was an incredible fight. It was an absolute war. And, Mason Jones outstruck him, outworked him every round, I believe. Got close to a finish. Axel Sola kind of looked dumb and was kind of fumbling by just trying to force the grappling way too much. He was gassing himself out with the grappling. By round 3. It's halfway through the round 3. It's okay, well, it seems like Sola realizes he's gassed himself out with the grappling here. He's busted up. They're both a little busted up because Sola's landing some good shots as well. And Sola's doing good here because right now he's not going for grappling and he's just staying in one spot, sitting down on his strikes and just sitting down, throwing hard punches, and that's just what he should have kept doing. Sitting down on his punches, throwing hard strikes, and moving forward on Mason Jones. Even though Mason Jones is a marauder, you don't want to do that. Well, it was working for Axel Sola in the exchanges. He was doing that. Yet he was just desperation grappling, even though that just wasn't working. Because off the separation, Mason Jones was landing crazy good shots and rocking Axel Sola all over the place. But Mason Jones is just walking this guy Axel Sola down for 3 rounds and just in his face, throwing hard strikes. This is a war. It was a fantastic fight. It was great. It was awesome. Was it high level? No. Could Mason Jones have finished him if he was a little more high level? Yes, because his footwork is way better than he realizes his footwork is. If you're constantly getting that angle and you're on the outside like that, dude, why are you not slinging them hooks to the body? Why are you not... it just wasn't taking a lot of the advantages that he had. He wasn't taking advantage of his advantages. But it still was a great fight. Still was a great war. Nathaniel Wood versus Lucien Kieta. Lucien Kieta should have won. No. It was a close fight. Could have gone either way. I don't even care enough to talk about it. Nathaniel Wood, jabs and low kicks. That's it. Jabs and low kicks. Occasionally something else. Occasionally a hook. Occasionally a straight right. Mostly jabs and low kicks. Lucien Kieta, shitty over-telegraphed overhands. Shitty over-telegraphed twos. Shitty over-telegraphed half of his strikes. And whiffed a lot. This fight kind of could have gone either way. Kieta did land some good strikes in round 3. At first, I thought Kieta won round 3 and won the fight, but then I thought about it more, and I was like, Well, what other round? Was it round 2 and 3? No, round 3 and 1. But then I thought about it and I was like, no, I think Nathaniel would have won. But, yeah, shit fight. Boring. Lucinquieta kind of got fraud checked in terms of, like, he just didn't look that great and was telegraphing a lot of stuff. And Mario Pinto versus Felipe Franco, folks. What do you think about that? Felipe Franco just made it to a decision with Mario Pinto. Apparently, Felipe Franco is actually decent. Apparently, he's actually decent, man, because he went to a decision with Mario Pinto. He's 10-1 now. He was undefeated after this. Undefeated before this. Anyways, yeah, he's a light heavyweight. Looks like it, anyways. He's a heavyweight, but he should be a light heavyweight. He weighed in at 227 pounds, and he looks like a light heavyweight. He looks like a big light heavyweight. He looks like Alonzo Menifield in terms of his build. He should cut down to light heavyweight and fight at light heavyweight. He just got size mugged and just got outstruck and outgrappled a little bit here and there by Pinto. And it was a shit boring fight, and it was kind of a fraud check for both of them. I mean, no one was really hyping up Franco because his debut was against Pinto, who was very hyped up. And a lot of people, including myself, thought he should have been getting like a ranked contender. And he still should be after this, but it's kind of like, oh, wow, well, Mario Pinto wasn't as good as we thought. And I know he's a slow starter and, waits to time stuff, but I guess he's got a heavy over-reliance on counter-striking. That's what we learned. And if you don't give him the opportunity, he's going to boringly decisionate you. Well, I mean, maybe he's able to submit you because, he's a great grappler, but he just didn't really utilize that much either and wasn't able to have too much success, and it was just like, in terms of like, so it was a shit fight entertainment-wise, and skill-wise, it was fine. It's heavyweight. Heavyweights suck. These guys are obviously better than most, and they're both like kind of close to their rankings, heavyweights, but Mountas Contervictius had a shit fight with Antonio Tricoli. Was it entertaining? Yeah. Did they go back and forth? Yeah. Was Antonio Tricoli getting his ass beat in round 3 and round 2 and got 10-8 in round 2? Yes, he did. But Mountas went to a decision with him, and they both look shit technically. Like, this is not a UFC level fight, in my opinion. I personally don't want to see non-UFC level fighters in the UFC. I don't. None of these guys are UFC level. And yes, even the guy that got a 30-26, I don't think he's really UFC level. Even if you think he is, it's barely. All right, he's bad. For a UFC fighter, all right, I have to preface that. I have to use that context because we got a bunch of casuals who think that any critique of a pro fighter or a pro athlete just automatically means you're a loser. When it's like, no, context is fucking everything. Context is everything. Context is everything, dude. And in the context, you can give constructive criticism to people who are pro fighters and UFC fighters. And you can be annoyed by it because the UFC, there's guys in the UFC that aren't UFC level, and it's annoying. A lot of fighters in the roster aren't UFC level and shouldn't be in the UFC, and they're only there to feed prospects. Gimmick-ass organization is what it's becoming. Now, Louis Sutherland versus Brano Pericic. Brano Pericic, he knocked him out pretty freaking easily, right? Because this guy, Louis Sutherland, for some reason, this guy, Brano Pericic, is a ground and pound TKO specialist. And you know what this guy, Louis Sutherland, does? Shoots for takedowns. You know what Louis Sutherland's good at? He's good at hard low kicks and rangy overhands. And he just kind of bum rushed Pericic early. I was like, hold on now. Maybe, we'll start throwing the crafty low kicks, and, he's shooting in for the legs, and now they're up against the fence. I don't know what Louis is doing here. Then got separated and got hit by some shots by Perisic. Perisic was kind of confused, like, dude, this guy's trying to grapple with me. This will be easy. And then Louis shot again, and then when he shot again, you know what happened? Well, in between that time, he got outstruck and just got boxed up a little bit. He was throwing back himself, and then he shot for a takedown again for some reason. For some dumb reason. This guy shot for a takedown again, and Brando Perisic sprawled on top of him and knocked him out. You know, TKO'd him on the ground with a ground and pound TKO because, of course, that's what would happen. Like, what? No. I remember what happened before that now. Perisic was piecing him up, and then Louis shot a desperation takedown. For some reason, when the guy who is a striker and a low kick and like really good at low kicks and has some decent alright overhands, he decided to shoot a desperation takedown. What he does in desperation, rather than throwing back or throwing a low kick or circling out, you know, he shot a desperation takedown instead. When he's not a grappler and the guy he's fighting is a really good decent ground and pound specialist. So you got obviously got ground and pound TKO, you know, doing that stupid shit. So yeah, reversed and ground and pound TKO. Shamrock versus Abdul Karim Al Sawadi, low level UFC fight. Oh, Chanel Dyer. Chanel Dyer. This is like round one. It was just kind of clinching and boring, and there were some knees here and knees there. But then in round two, Chanel Dyer clinched her and kneed the living shit out of her face and her body. And then kneed the shit out of her face and then knocked her down with a hook, I believe, and finished her with ground and pound. And it wasn't like just, oh, she kneed her, oh, wow, she's just flopping. No, it was vicious, brutal knees. So it was a nice one from Chanel Dyer. But Ravina Oliveira, this sucks as a UFC WMMA fighter. And there's just, I mean, all this proves is that, well, Chanel Dyer isn't shit. You know, she's above Ravina Oliveira level, and she actually did look good. She lost her Contender Series fight, so I thought she was going to win a decision, not a knockout, even though she normally gets knockouts. I forget who she lost her Contender Series fight to, but Chanel Dyer, she looked decent here. She looked solid. That was a very vicious, very nice finish here. And she was really like pushing the pace and trying to set it up even in round two and round one as well, you know, finishing with clinch knees. But anyways, lastly, Shamrock versus Abdul Karim El Sawadi. Abdul Karim El Sawadi is like a step above meh, and Shamrock is meh. Shamrock's, you know, hyped up by, you know, English guys, you know. British people tend to really, really hype up their prospects a lot. Well, I mean, I guess a lot of people do, but the thing is about British people is they make a large portion of the MMA community. So, you know, there's more vocal. And, you know, Guru, who's a prominent voice in the sport, he's the same way. He's British, and he freaking was hyping up guys like Shamrock and Curtis Campbell, and, you know, both those guys lost. And he picked them, but Abdul Karim El Sawadi got the win, and it was actually a decent fun fight, I guess. Shamrock he just shells up so much when he takes those hard shots. And Kareem was just outboxing him and doing this weird thing with switching the stance and using like a weird shorter man's up jab, like jabbing upwards with a high elbow, and was doing some crafty shit, but like he was getting clipped back too. He was getting clipped back every once in a while. And, I don't know, Shamrock was just being really repetitive with his teeps and stuff, and wasn't really using his range that well. And I think lost every round, if I remember correctly. And got clearly out. Yeah. Shamrock got a takedown in round 3, and then wasn't able to really do much with it, if I remember correctly. In round 2, Shamrock is getting pieced up. Almost got TKO'd at one point by Abdul Karim El Sawadi. Abdul just throws everything with maximum capacity. This dude just throws really hard in the pocket, and it's a really fun style. He's sloppy, but it's a really fun style, and it's not a good style for Shamrock. If you didn't think Shamrock got fraud checked in the Nurullo Aliev fight with how badly Nurullo beat his ass, then you definitely did now. And Abdul, well, I mean, he's not a good prospect or anything, but he's a guy that it's okay. Well, he can be in the UFC. He's gonna give us some fun fights. So he's never gonna be ranked. He's never gonna be good, really. He's already in his early 30s, I think, but he's gonna give us some fun fights. Shamrock, maybe he'll get better. Anyways, I think this card was dog shit. There was no big fight feels about this. There was the feeling just wasn't there for this card. Entertainment value not that high. Skill level not that high. Chanel Dyer got the performance bonus. Iwo Baranuski should have got the performance bonus, not Chanel Dyer. With that KO, it was a very slick, very great KO. Iwo needs to step up in competition. Come on. Give him someone who's half decent, and I want to see how he does. I think he'll do great. I think he'll do fine. I think he'll do good. And I really like Iwo Baranuski. He's a shit ton of fun, and he's actually pretty good. He has a really good skill set, and he's a marauder. I feel like he's the type of guy that if he's in a matchup with a skilled opponent, he can flip a switch and not be as much of a marauder and fight at a decent level, fight at a good level, at a higher level than when he's marauding. Just with how his skill level, it's dude, when you see marauders, most marauders don't fight at the level of Iwo Baranuski. They don't look as clean as Iwo Baranuski does. They're not timing their shots. They're not being as smart as Iwo Baranuski. I know, and I was saying his fight with Iwo Aslan was smart. Oh, how funny. You got to rewatch it, dude. Iwo was the one slinging, and Iwo was the one with crazy recovery time, and the one who was fighting his fight and forcing Iwo to be sloppy and forcing the counter. Anyways, card was shit. UFC's getting worse.